Hello everyone, it's Shadow Libra. Welcome back to reviewing every single FNAF release. We are now on year 6. So today I am reviewing everything that came out between August 8th, 2019 to August 7th, 2020. Please like, comment, and subscribe to see more videos like this. Also, there is a link to my Discord, Instagram, and Twitter in the description. Now, let's do this. Curse of Dreadbear, released on October 23rd, 2019. Curse of Dreadbear is the Halloween-themed DLC released for Help Wanted, and for some reason, whenever people talk about Steel Wool's games, this one is always skipped. And maybe you're thinking, oh, well, they probably skip it because it's a DLC and not a new game title, but guess what? Ruin is also a DLC, and no one skips Ruin when talking about the Steel Wool games. Why do people keep forgetting Curse of Dreadbear exists? Sure, it's not as big as Help Wanted, but it's just as good in my opinion. In fact, some of the Curse of Dreadbear levels, like Pirate Ride and Trick or Treat, I have more memories with than I do with some Help Wanted levels. Sorry, as you can all tell, the fact that people always forget this game frustrates me. Anyway, FNAF is a really good game that fits with Halloween. Did you know almost every single FNAF game has some sort of Halloween reference in it? FNAF 1, 2, and 3 have Halloween-themed offices if you play it on October 31st. FNAF 4 has a Halloween version of it. Update 2 of FNAF World is Halloween-themed. Pizzeria Simulator has some Halloween posters showing the game takes place during Halloween. Ultimate Custom Night has Jacko Chica, a Halloween animatronic. Help Wanted's DLC is Halloween themed. Special Delivery is Halloween themed. If you play in October, wait, you can't play Special Delivery. I have no idea if Freddy In Space 2 or Fury's Rage have Halloween stuff or not, and I don't feel like looking it up. Security Breach has Curse of Dreadbear stuff, and Help Wanted 2 has Jacko Moon. Anyway, let's talk about the levels. One of my favorite levels in Curse of Dreadbear is Trick or Treat. You're standing right outside the front door of a mansion with limited visibility to watch the animatronics through a window, so you can quickly put the mask on of the character about to answer the door. You have to really pay attention to where everyone is at all times. Pirate Ride is another fun level. It's very similar to that Buzz Lightyear ride at Disneyland where you have to shoot the targets and stack up points. The only difference is the Buzz Lightyear ride does not have giant jack-o'-lantern animatronics trying to murder you. Build a Mangle I actually misunderstood for years, but I finally get how the level works, so I'll try replaying it one day. Hallway manages to keep me on my toes with always being in fear a nightmare animatronic will kill me. I hate it when the Freddles noise gets louder and louder because it feels like Nightmare Freddy is right behind me. I love the Dreadbear level because I find something about creating a Frankenstein-like monster very fun, especially since I get to work on the brain. Speaking of which, Dreadbear's design is pretty cool. He looks like a zombie version of Freddy, or maybe even Fredbear. The names Fredbear and Dreadbear are similar after all, but apparently his name was originally going to be Frankenfreddy, so he is supposed to look like a Frankenstein-like creature. The other new animatronic in this game is Grim Foxy, a fiery foxy. I'm glad he got a more unique name and not just Jacko Foxy or something. I enjoyed this DLC. The Easter eggs are great too, such as Foxy's pirate ship being destroyed by the Kraken, the lake behind you is sometimes red, Dreadbear crawling out of the lake is always cool to see. Feels like an Old Man Consequences reference. Now, let's talk about Corn Maze. It's pretty scary walking around this maze, which feels like dead end after dead end, while Grim Foxy is chasing you everywhere, always having to quickly hide inside of a cutout as the sound effect plays loudly, telling you Grim Foxy is charging right at you. It's a very stressful level. Getting the Vanny mask at the end, however, makes it very worth it. Curse of Dreadbear is a fun Halloween DLC. I love the look of it, and I wish more people would remember it existed.
That's right! With the Fazbear Fun Time service, you'll never be alone again. It's guaranteed! With our exclusive animatronics, you'll always have someone watching your back. They'll provide you with hours of fun entertainment and companionship. You can't hide from a future of fun. Our special delivery will make you jump from excitement. Subscribe today. Don't miss this opportunity. And remember, we're always watching out for you.
You are very, very quiet. Maybe I will not find you.
Special Delivery, released on November 25th, 2019. Oh boy, do I have some things to say about this game. Boy, do I have some not good things to say about Special Delivery. So the concept is interesting. It's an augmented reality game. Augmented reality is basically when you see the stuff in the game in your world. It's like the opposite of VR. An example to better explain this is Pokemon Go, where you walk around your neighborhood and catch different Pokemon. You can see them in your backyard, your local park, library, strip club, or whatever else you or wherever else you decide to play. Special Delivery's concept is Fazbear Entertainment is shipping animatronics to people's houses, and Glitch Trap is screwing up the system, causing the animatronics to be aggressive, which results in the player walking around in circles until an animatronic shows up. Then they shock said animatronic. Yep, that's the whole game. It sucks. After Ultimate Custom Night, Scott had stopped being the one to make the games. He started hiring other game devs to make the games. We have Steel Wool, who so far has made Help Wanted, Security Breach, and Help Wanted 2. We also have Mega Cat, who has made Into the Pit. Then there is Illumix. Illumix is the team who made Special Delivery. While Steel Wool was a great choice to hand off the main FNAF releases to, especially since they really do seem to care about the franchise, along with Mega Cat, who made a banger game Into the Pit, and they are also working on Fetch. Illumix 100% saw FNAF as an easy moneymaker and nothing else. This is why I'm assuming Scott spent the first 4 years being very protective of the FNAF IP. For the first 4 years, Scott did not want to really hand any IP rights to anyone. And when he started branching out a bit to make more high quality games, he's been careful about who he gives the IP to, but Illumix was a bad choice. The game Illumix made is literally just pay to win. All the upgrades and stuff cost real money, which is so stupid because you can earn things like tokens in the game, but they don't cover the cost of anything people actually want. I get that some video games do that, but look at this. They brought Toy Chica into the game, and she costed $70. You could literally buy FNAF 1, 2, 3, 4, and Sister Location, and all of those games will cost less money than Toy Chica. You could buy Security Breach, and it will cost less than Toy Chica. Ballora was like $40. You could buy Help Wanted, and it will cost less than Ballora. All this stuff is expensive, and it's not even worth it because the game lags a lot. There's this stupid bug where the loading screen gets stuck on 90%, and then the game just never loads. Illumix is over here thinking, "Bah, these idiots will buy anything from our terrible game because it's FNAF." And you know what? I don't blame them for thinking like that because we have freaking Daco over here screaming about every new skin they release, no matter how bad it looked. Don't even get me started on the big 2021 update. Illumix made it that the animatronics have a lot of durability at the start of the game, and you had to level up to make them weaker. That alone is whatever, but then there's the fact that it was to the point where you can run out of all affordable upgrades fast, and without paying real money for things like battery or whatever, you'd basically be dead. This is the worst FNAF game to have ever come out. Very glad that earlier this year, Special Delivery was shut down. Scott made a big mistake letting Illumix use the FNAF IP. My hope is he will be more careful with teams he chooses for FNAF. Hopefully Scott learned his lesson with Illumix because, like I said, Steelwool and Mega Cat are doing really well so far. So it's good to know FNAF is in good hands. Just please don't ever let Illumix touch FNAF again.
Come in, Faz Squad. This is Dreadbear at Faz Command.
Freddy In Space 2, released on December 3rd, 2019. This is Skylar Jin, a 12-year-old boy who was diagnosed with cancer. Skylar was a huge fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. Unfortunately, he was having a very rough battle with cancer. During this fight, Scott Cawthon actually flew down to his place and he met Skylar in person. With how much Skylar loves FNAF, that must have been an incredible experience for him. Unfortunately, on October 26, 2019, Skylar had passed away. I am going to leave a link to his YouTube channel in the description. I encourage everyone watching this video to please subscribe to him to honor Skylar's memory. Now, the reason I'm explaining all this in the Freddy In Space 2 portion of the video of all things is because Freddy In Space 2 is not just some random spin-off Scott did. Freddy In Space 2 is much more than that. And I'd argue this is the most important game in the entire franchise. While the others are about horror, story, and overall just about having a good time surviving against possessed animatronics, Freddy In Space 2 was made for charity. On December 3rd of 2019, MatPat did a 10-hour live stream where he was with a bunch of YouTubers and did lots of different events featuring Vsauce, Try Guys, The Odd Ones Out, Something Else YT, and so many more YouTubers. Everyone bounded together for this live stream, did many fun events, and had a donation box that people in the chat could donate to. Every single penny that was donated to the stream was sent to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. The grand total was over $1 million, I believe. St. Jude's is a children's hospital dedicated to treating kids with cancer and other life-threatening diseases, trying to help us fight back against cancer because so many people's lives have been greatly affected by it, including me and my family multiple times. My uncle is a cancer survivor. However, in 2019, I unfortunately lost my aunt due to cancer. My dad, he's been in a fight with cancer throughout the entirety of this year so far. One of the main reasons 2024 has been a really hard year for me. However, my dad's surgery was successful and a lot of us are confident he will pull through. Anyway, the point is, cancer is a very serious issue. I'm sure many people watching this video have been affected by cancer in some way or another. During MatPat's charity stream in 2019, there was one segment where he, Daco, and Markiplier all played the game Scott made for this specific event, Freddy In Space 2. That's right, Scott made Freddy In Space 2 both for MatPat's charity stream and it was in honor of Skylar Jin. Throughout the game, there is money you can collect. The money is scattered everywhere. The idea was however much money MatPat and everyone else could find in the game, Scott would donate that money to the charity stream. The money in the game added up to $500,000, $500,000. MatPat, Markiplier, and Daco managed to find somewhere close to that amount, but Scott, being the giga chat he is, donated the full $500,000 anyway. I think he was just always gonna do that, but hey, he gave everyone an entertaining game to watch the 3 most popular FNAF YouTubers play during the stream. Anyway, this is a great game in terms of gameplay. It's also free, and even though the charity stream is over, you could still go on GameJolt and download it for free if you want. And the reason behind its creation, thank you Scott for making this one. And us FNAF fans are always going to remember Skylar Jin. What do you wish for most? It's a question that Oswald thinks he knows the answer to. Oswald wishes his summer wasn't so boring. But in the twisted world of Five Nights at Freddy's, his heart's deepest desires have an unexpected cost. Into the Pit, released on December 26, 2019, the first ever Fazbear Fright story. The Fazbear Frights have become one of the most controversial things in the entire series. However, continuity debates aside, let's talk about the stories themselves. Into the Pit is about a boy named Oswald who hates how boring his town is. His family is broke and there's never anything to do. His dad always drops him off at Jeff's Pizza, which has an old, disgusting ball pit in it. One day, to mess with his dad, Oswald hides in the ball pit. However, he finds himself in Freddy's from 1985. The ball pit pretty much takes Oswald back in time in 1985. In 1985 Freddy's, Oswald witnesses 6 kids get murdered, and he gets chased by Spring Bonnie. Then, Spring Bonnie escapes the ball pit and becomes Oswald's dad. Oswald's real dad is trapped in the ball pit until Oswald goes back to Jeff's to save him. They fight the yellow rabbit and the story ends there. Into the Pit, I think, is a very strong opening to the Fazbear Frights. However, I did lie about one thing. The ball pit does not time travel. What's really happening is when Oswald goes into the ball pit, he is living it through the memory of Freddy's in 1985. This is due to the entity living in the ball pit, Eleanor. Eleanor is William's wickedness taking on its own supernatural form. Her goal is to inflict agony and pain onto others and make them suffer. That way, William Afton's legacy will continue to live on, and so will Eleanor. In this story, Eleanor is taking the form of Spring Bonnie. but in a much more demonic form. Not in the way William actually looked when he wore the Spring Bonnie suit, but in the way that he was remembered in that suit. A monster. Oswald is just one of many victims trapped in the pit. I think Into the Pit is a great introduction to the Fazbear Frights series because it is showing us our main villain for the Frights, the legacy of William Afton, the mark he has left before his death, because most of the Frights stories, including this one, are after Pizzeria Simulator. What do you wish for most? It's a question that Sarah thinks she knows the answer to. Sarah wishes to be beautiful, but in the twisted world of Five Nights at Freddy's, her heart's deepest desires have an unexpected cost. To Be Beautiful, released on December 26, 2019. This story is terrible. Sarah thinks she is ugly, so she makes a deal with Eleanor to get her limbs cut off and replaced by junk, and then she is given a necklace that makes her look human. My problem with this story is none of the characters are likable. None of them. Sarah is self-centered and has very non-issue problems. Sarah's mom is not supportive at all. Sarah's friends, the Beautifuls, are very stereotypical. Abby, who is supposed to be seen as the nice character, has the whole vibe of, look at me, I do bare minimum, therefore praise me. Oh yeah, and Mason, he exists. Anyway, the only cool part about this story is it's another Eleanor story. But this is the only story outside of the epilogues where we see Eleanor in her main form, which is basically a skinny circus baby doll. But yeah, other than that, it's just a bunch of unlikable characters with problems I do not care about. Sarah gets her beauty wish just for her to lose the necklace because she fell in a puddle, and then she dies a day later. Was it worth it, Sarah? Was it worth listening to the possessed doll you found in a junkyard? What an idiot. Let's move on. What do you wish for most? It's a question that Millie thinks she knows the answer to. Millie wishes she could just disappear from the face of the earth. But in the twisted world of Five Nights at Freddy's, her heart's deepest desires have an unexpected cost. Count the Ways, released on December 26, 2019. This story is a lot better than To Be Beautiful. It's about a girl named Millie who is kind of a misfit. She's constantly made fun of for liking weird things like death-related poems. She also likes to dress up in black, and she has very pale skin. She gets called Dracula's daughter. Her parents are also known as the joke of the town, but they are currently in Saudi Arabia, so she's living with her grandfather, and he's trying his best. But it's tough for an old man to take care of a Gen Z kid. Millie is very interested in the idea of death. She romanticizes it even, talks about it wanting to take her, until she gets in that exact situation. Her grandpa, I guess, just casually has Funtime Freddy in his basement, which is so real of him. He's an eccentric collector. Millie tries to hide in Funtime Freddy during Christmas because she's sick of her family. Funtime Freddy then activates when Millie goes inside him, and then he proudly tells Millie he can make her wish of death finally come true, to which Millie realizes she does not want to die after all. Funtime Freddy proudly explains all the methods he could use to kill Millie, impaling her, electrocuting her, boiling her alive. Millie is just screwed. She ends up going with being decapitated. Funtime Freddy does a countdown in French, and Millie's head goes rolling around in his storage tank. While talking about all the methods Funtime Freddy can use to kill her, Funtime Freddy even goes into the history of a lot of them and who decided how people can be executed in these kinds of ways. He talks about Vlad the Impaler, Henry VIII, and a bunch more. It's a really creepy story, and it really sucks that Millie did not make it, but a lot of these Fazbear Fright stories do not end well for our main protagonists. After years of being kicked around, Greg is ready to take control of his life. Greg decides to put the controversial science he's been studying to the test. But as he will learn, control is a fragile thing in the sinister world of Five Nights at Freddy's. Fetch, released on March 3rd, 2020. I like this one. It's about a kid named Greg who finds an old animatronic named Fetch at an abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Greg links Fetch up with his phone, and then he comes home to find out that Fetch is actually able to text him. But it's not just Greg's phone where Fetch gets information. It's implied that Greg and Fetch are linked together through the 0-point field, which basically allows Greg and Fetch to have a mind link, and Fetch knows Greg's thoughts, which leads to Fetch doing things against Greg's wishes. At first, Greg will just say he wants chocolate or something, then Fetch will get him some chocolate. Or Greg will want to find a plastic spider he buried. Fetch will dig up the plastic spider and send it to Greg. But then Greg says he was almost killed by his neighbor's dog. Fetch will hunt the dog down and kill it, and leave it as a gift on Greg's doorstep. Greg will say he wishes he had the magic touch his uncle did because Greg's uncle is a very wealthy man. Well, Fetch is now gonna go find Greg's uncle and bite his finger off, and send it to Greg. Or Greg will say he wishes he could date his crush. Well, now, Fetch is going to go to the house of his crush, murder the girl, and leave her dead body inside of Greg's bedroom. Who's a good puppy? Seriously, the concept of Fetch is really interesting because it seems like Fetch doesn't know what he is doing is wrong. He's just a boo-boo snooze-you. Actually, he's possessed by Andrew, Eleanor, and William Aft. Shush! Fetch is a boo-boo snooze-you. The story is almost 90 pages, yet I don't feel like there's any filler scenes. This story justifies its length. I also like that the rules of Fetch are pretty well established. Although that's something I like about FNAF in general, I like that unlike most horror series, FNAF tries to explain how its supernatural elements work. Fetch is a strong opening to Book 2, in my opinion. After years of being kicked around, Alec is ready to take control of his life. Alec launches a master plot to expose his golden sister for the spoiled brat he knows she is. But, as he will learn, control is a fragile thing in the sinister world of Five Nights at Freddy's. Lonely Freddy, released on March 3rd, 2020. Lonely Freddy I have a soft spot for because it was my introduction to the Fazbear Frights. However, let's talk about the story. Alec's sister Hazel is seen as the good child among their parents, while Alec is seen as the bad one. Alec's parents just have some weird bias against him. They are obsessed with making sure Alec is a normal child, and they're always quick to call him out if he does something slightly wrong. It almost feels like they favor Hazel over Alec. This rightfully frustrates him. But then Alec becomes convinced that Hazel is not the nice kid everyone thinks she is, but rather Hazel is manipulative of everyone around her so she can get her own way. Hazel's birthday is coming up and she's spending it at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. What a surprise. Alec and Hazel decide to swap positions for a bit where Alec does good stuff for his parents while Hazel messes with them and even lets a spider loose in her parents' bed. Yeah, the parents, they say Hazel and Alex switch places, and then when Hazel and Alex swap back, they are relieved Hazel is normal again, while Alec receives 0 credit for being a good child for as long as he was. I hate these parents. I wish they were the ones to die at the end, but unfortunately they aren't. During Hazel's party, she decides she doesn't want to do the swapping game with Alec anymore, which obviously annoys Alec, so to expose his sister as a brat, he sneaks over to the ticket machine and takes out the Yarg Foxy ticket. You know those machines at Chuck E. Cheese that blast tickets around you? Freddy's has one of those too, and one of the tickets wins you a Yarg Foxy plush. Alec loves Foxy, and he wants the plush more than anything. He assumes Hazel wants the plush too, so he steals the ticket so she is not able to get it. However, there's more than one ticket and Hazel does win the plushie. But it turns out Hazel did not win the plushie for herself. She won the plushie to give to Alec in hopes that it will make Alec like her, because Hazel does not want to be in a rivalry with her brother, she wants to be his friend. Hazel was not a brat or spoiled or anything like that. She was genuinely just a nice kid who just wanted a friendship with her brother. Alec throws a fit in front of the whole pizzeria, and he rips up the yard Foxy and runs into the back room crying. Then a doll comes by. Lonely Freddy. He starts asking Alec lots of personal questions, and then they body swap. Yeah, some of the ways these Fright stories end kind of feel very sudden. Alec is now a Lonely Freddy, while Lonely Freddy itself is controlling Alec's body. Sad ending. Alec I've found somewhat relatable. I would have liked to see a happy ending for him and Hazel, but well, Fazbear Frights don't work like that. Anyway, Lonely Freddy is one of the best Fright stories ever. After years of being kicked around, Oscar is ready to take control of his life. Oscar, ever the miniature grown-up his mom needs him to be, decides to take something he wants, even though he knows it's wrong. But as he will learn, control is a fragile thing in the sinister world of Five Nights at Freddy's. Out of Stock, released on March 3rd, 2020. This is a plush trap story. It's about a boy named Oscar who is forced to have these different responsibilities that normally adults have, not kids. Oscar's mom gave him these responsibilities when his dad died. Oscar has been getting more and more sick of his mom shoving all this stuff on him because he just wants to be a normal kid and hang out with his friends while growing up. I don't blame him for that. One chance Oscar has at being a normal kid is when plush trap chasers are sold at the mall, because Plush Trap is Oscar's favorite character in the Fazbear universe. Oscar tries to buy a plush trap chaser, but they are quickly sold out. However, there is a single plush trap chaser in the back that's not for sale. Oscar steals the chaser, and the reason it wasn't for sale is it has human eyes and teeth because it's possessed by Andrew, Eleanor, and William Afton all at the same time. I am serious. Plush Trap works in the story exactly how he does in FNAF 4. Moves in the dark, stops in the light. The possessed Plush Trap tries to kill Oscar and his friends until Oscar leads Plush Trap to a train, causing him to get run over and everyone lives. Happy ending. The story is alright, but it's either Oscar and his friends being chased by Plush Trap or it's Oscar yelling at his mom. I don't really have much to say about this one. I like it, but the Fazbear Frights definitely have better stories. For Delilah, being left behind is practically a way of life. Orphaned from a young age and recently divorced, Delilah escapes deeper into her dreams each night in desperate need of a wake-up call. Unfortunately, in the callous world of Five Nights at Freddy's, it's always in the depths of loneliness when evil creeps in. 1:35 a.m., released on May 5th, 2020. I really like this one. People say it's repetitive, but personally, I don't think the main cycle is that bad. This story follows Delilah. She's always wanted a daughter. One day, she finds the Ella doll at a garage sale who looks exactly like the daughter she had always envisioned herself having. What's crazier is the name she had for her daughter is Emma, very close to Ella. Delilah takes Ella from the garage sale and finds out Ella works as an alarm clock. Delilah sets the alarm for 1:35 p.m., but it doesn't work, so Delilah throws Ella in the trash. Turns out Ella was set for 1:35 a.m., and she starts to go off in Delilah's head every night. Sometimes, while trying to sleep, Delilah swears Ella is in her house stalking her. Ella follows Delilah everywhere, but what's interesting is even though we know the monster's nearby, we never actually see Ella. Actually, throughout the whole story, no one sees or hears Ella to the point where Delilah is wondering if she is even sane. Delilah tries working nights to escape Ella, but she starts going crazy at her job and is fired. So Delilah, in an attempt to escape Ella, drives off during the night, which causes Ella to swing her car door open while driving, confirming yes, Ella is real. She is after Delilah. So Delilah finds a vent system, crawls in there, and lets herself die in there. Therefore, Ella will never come after her again. Dang, this ending was pretty sad. I feel like I can relate to Delilah in some ways throughout the story, so I felt bad that she thought suicide was the only option. Well, actually, the scary part is suicide was kind of the only option. It's either that or let Ella bother you endlessly, and it's more than a mild inconvenience. Ella becomes more and more aggressive each night too. Delilah would have died anyway. All she did in the ending was speed up the process. 1:35 a.m. is more of a psychological horror, sort of mixed with the supernatural. I enjoy it. It's one of the longer stories, but I think it justifies the length. For Stanley, being left behind is practically a way of life. Stanley is newly dumped, stuck in a dead-end job for a mysterious employer, and unable to connect with anyone. Unfortunately, in the callous world of Five Nights at Freddy's, it's always in the depths of loneliness when evil creeps in. Room for One More, released on May 5th, 2020. This is a cool one. Stanley is working at Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rentals. However, this takes place after the events of Sister Location. The missing children's spirits are still broken and split across every single fun time. However, in Sister Location's ending, not every fun time escapes Circus Babies. Ballora, Funtime Freddy, Bon Bon, Funtime Foxy, and Yendo did. However, the others did not. The Biddy Babs, Mini Renas, Bonnet, and Lolbit are all still down there. They want to escape, so they do the same thing that Ennard did to Michael. They steal people's bodies and use them as skin suits. Stanley ends up being the target for the Mini Renas. They sneak on his desk every night while he's sleeping and crawl inside of his body. Stanley notices he's getting more and more sick each night and certain body parts are feeling numb. But he doesn't understand why. While at his job, the missing children also give Stanley dreams of the other fun times. Funtime Freddy in the dark, Funtime Foxy is a cab driver, Ballora is a dentist, it's crazy. Stanley tries to live a normal life, but he's depressed over his recent breakup, and doesn't really take care of himself. When he finds out what the Mini Renas are doing, that's when he suddenly cares more about his well-being. But it's too late. He tries to escape the Mini Renas. He tries to escape Circus Babies to find a doctor, but the Mini Renas are like parasites. They kill Stanley and steal his body in order to escape Circus Babies. I think it's cool we got to see a bit of the aftermath to the events of Sister Location, because the Biddy Babs, Mini Renas, and a bunch of other fun times that were not part of Ennard are possessed by the missing children as well. I have always wondered before what happens to them. Now we know they try to do the same thing Ennard did. I guess they don't realize that plan never really worked out in the long run. Room for One More is pretty short, but it's enjoyable. For Devin, being left behind is practically a way of life. Devin, abandoned by his dad and ignored by his mom, can't understand why love and friendship come so easily to everyone except him. Unfortunately, in the callous world of Five Nights at Freddy's, it's always in the depths of loneliness when evil creeps in. The New Kid, released on May 5th, 2020. This story is interesting. Devin is kind of a weird dude. He wants his crush to notice him, but the way he does it is by writing a story about her sisters being eaten by clowns. Yeah, that's actually how the story opens. Devin is also super jealous of the new kid, roll credits, Kelsey, who gets lots of popularity and even attention from Heather, the crush. Devin is obsessed with Heather. He's crazy about her to a concerning amount. Devin slowly falls more and more into madness throughout the story. There's one scene where he just grabs a rock and throws it at a bird, getting a direct hit, killing that bird. Devin's only friend, Mick, sees how bad Devin is getting, but the worst part of it is when Devin lures Kelsey to an abandoned Freddy's, convinces him to put on a golden Freddy suit, and Kelsey is spring-locked. Devin has nightmares, not because of what he did, but because he is scared he'll get caught. Or worse, Kelsey survived. To make sure Kelsey is dead, Devin goes back to Freddy's to check on the body. Kelsey is not in there. but a kid with black hair is, a black-haired kid inside of a Golden Freddy suit. Yeah, I wonder who that could be. Devin's arm is spring-locked immediately. I feel like there's hints in the book that Kelsey is Cassidy, the spirit of Golden Freddy. It's possible Cassidy is going on a killing spree at this time in the story since she approaches 2 bullies at the end of it. The New Kid is a cool Golden Freddy horror story. I like it. Isolation can open up a void. Pete lashes out at his younger brother in the wake of his parents' divorce, falling prey to a gruesome curse. But in the grim world of Five Nights at Freddy's, empty feelings often attract hungry monsters. Step Closer, released on July 7th, 2020. Step Closer is a cool one. The concept in this story is curses. Basically, a boy named Pete gets cursed because he's mean to his little brother and tries to scare him using Foxy. You know how pirates have an eye patch and a hook? Well, Foxy sets a curse on Pete with his song, "You can be a pirate, but first, ye have to lose an eye and an arm." Pete ends up going through lots of events causing him to almost lose an eye or an arm, almost getting cut with a meat slicer or a tiny knife almost hitting his eye. A fishing hook is caught in his eye too. Pete goes through a lot of accidents, all being caused by Foxy. Pete finds the way to break the curse is to make amends with his brother. He tries, but he and Chuck continue to argue. Pete then decides he has to face Foxy himself. So he starts heading back to Freddy's just to get hit by a truck. However, Eleanor, oh yeah, Eleanor is Foxy by the way. So is Andrew and William Afton. Anyway, Eleanor is keeping Pete alive, but everyone else thinks he's dead. Pete is an organ donor. His mom signed him up against his will. Wow, 10 out of 10 parenting. Someone needs an eye and an arm, and Pete is forced to feel all of it. Yeah, this did not end well for Pete. However, I think the idea of curses being a thing in FNAF is pretty cool. I hope curses are something we could see more of in future installments. Good story. Isolation can open up a void. Casey struggles with the lengths she'll go to survive on the streets after stealing a pair of unusual novelty glasses. But in the grim world of Five Nights at Freddy's, empty feelings often attract hungry monsters. Dance With Me, released on July 7th, 2020. This story is so underrated. What do you mean Daco said to it? Dance With Me is about this homeless girl named Casey. She was kicked out of her house because her mom's boyfriend said to do so. Casey has been living on the streets. The only way she can survive is to steal. One day, she steals a mother's purse along with the mother's kids' goodie bag from Circus Babies, and she finds a pair of novelty glasses. These glasses show Ballora when Casey wears them. However, Casey notices Ballora is always getting closer and the leaves around Ballora are moving in real life, meaning Ballora is real and she is slowly coming after Casey. Casey tries getting a job, moving towns. She tries to get away from Ballora, but the one thing that makes Ballora stop is Casey has to go to the home of the woman she stole from and apologize. Then Casey is invited for tea and everyone is happy. It's a happy ending, but it's a unique story. Casey is one of my favorite protagonists in the Fazbear Frights. She didn't want to live like this, but she was kicked out of her home while she was still a teenager. She literally had no choice. She has no job since she has no home, so she has to steal from others. It's literally the only way Casey can survive. Casey does try turning her life around though, getting a job interview, renting an apartment. She is trying to turn her life around. Casey becoming friends with the mom she stole from and giving the daughter her glasses back is another step in the right direction. I think the reason we got Dance With Me is because when you look at the stories before it, we have only had one happy ending out of stock. The rest have had the main characters either suffer by the end or they die horrific deaths. Dance With Me is to show that FNAF isn't all doom and gloom. There can sometimes be happy endings, but it is mostly bad ones because let's be real, while we all may be FNAF fans, There's no way in hell any of us would want to live in the FNAF universe. Underrated story, I like the uniqueness. Now, prepare yourselves, because we are going to end off this video with my favorite Fazbear Frights story. Isolation can open up a void. Samantha and her sister Susie struggle to exist side by side, desperate to connect after a horrific tragedy. But in the grim world of Five Nights at Freddy's, empty feelings often attract hungry monsters. Coming Home, released on July 7th, 2020. There are a total of 34 Fazbear Fright stories, and out of all of them, this one is my absolute favorite. Coming Home is about Samantha, the sister of Susie. All FNAF fans should recognize the name Susie. In 1985, Susie was lured into Freddy's safe room by William Afton in a Spring Bonnie suit. She was killed and her body was stuffed into Chica, where her soul was forced to stay forever. What I have always loved about the FNAF animatronics is these guys are not the big bad monsters or the evil in this series. Yes, they kill people. However, these animatronics, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy, are not evil. They are victims. They are children. They aren't doing evil things because they want to. It's because they think they have to. These kids were hurt by an adult, and now they're in a very confused state of mind. They believe that adults are just out to get them and hurt them more. The animatronics kill adults because that seems to be the only way to make sure they are not hurt again. William Afton manipulates the children into thinking this way. The most important thing to know about the animatronics is that their actions are not their fault. Yes, they kill people, but it's not the fault of the kids. They feel completely backed into a corner. They feel like they have to do what they do. Another thing to know about the kids' spirits is they are unaware of being dead. What they think is going on is after the adult hurt them, it forced them into some new messed up life, where they are all stuck at Freddy's, and they somehow have this new ability to control each of the animatronics. That's all the kids really know. When you die in FNAF, your memories are fuzzy. And that's how William is easily able to manipulate the kids and make them think that Spring Bonnie, the yellow rabbit, is their friend. 1 year after the missing children's incident is the story Coming Home. Susie's family is still in grief after the tragedy that took place at Freddy's. Susie's dad had just left. Samantha, Susie's sister, had been going to therapy, and Susie's mom, she's a complete mess. Susie's spirit is trying to leave the pizzeria. She wants to be with her family. However, whenever she tries to interact with her mom or her sister, Susie is completely ignored. Susie does not realize she is dead. Susie does not realize that she is a ghost. She doesn't understand why she is suddenly being ignored by her family. We know from Pizzeria Simulator and The Fourth Closet that the reason Susie was lured was because she was upset about her dead dog. However, Coming Home tells us the dog was not the only thing making Susie vulnerable that day. Susie had gotten in a fight with her sister over a doll named Gretchen. The doll was meant for the girls to share, but they could never agree on what they wanted to do with the doll. Samantha wanted to make Gretchen study and do hard work, while Susie just wanted the doll to play and have fun. We learned that Susie was a pretty daring child, always doing dangerous stunts that would get her in trouble. Samantha was the more serious of the two, while Susie was the more fun one. Susie and Samantha argued over the doll so much that Susie hid Gretchen in a secret room in her dad's office. That way, Samantha would never find her. Susie listened to Spring Bonnie at the party because he had promised Susie that he would be able to help her find a better place to hide Gretchen. That way, Samantha would never get her hands on that doll ever again. That's what led Susie to her doom. Samantha knows if they never argued over that stupid doll, Susie would still be alive. Samantha partly blames herself for what happened. Susie's mom, Patricia, she hasn't gone a single day not thinking about Susie, her dear child who she has lost to some monster who has never been charged for any of his crimes. Patricia has mental breakdowns throughout the story, many times. You can really tell how much pain she is in over this. I mean, imagine being a parent and you lose your child, your very young child, to some psychopath who just wanted to lure kids away and kill them. That's an absolutely tragic and horrible experience for any parent to go through. It's also unfortunately something that happens in the real world all the time. While Susie is trying to connect with her family, another obstacle gets in the way. The spirit follows the flesh and also the pain. Since Susie's body is stuffed inside of Chica, that means Susie is unable to stay at her house for as long as she wants. Her spirit must be with her flesh. So every night, Chica teleports to Susie's house and she forces Susie to come back to the pizzeria with her. Technically, Susie's spirit is the one making Chica do this. However, Susie is unaware of that. She thinks that Chica herself is just showing up and is refusing to let her be with her family. Susie's time here is getting more and more limited as the nights go on. It's fall, and the tree at Susie's home, who Susie had loved and even nicknamed Oliver, is losing his leaves. And when all his leaves drop, Susie will no longer be allowed to come home, ever again. Susie wants one thing before she's forced to stay at Freddy's for eternity. She wants her doll back. She wants Gretchen. Unfortunately, Susie cannot remember where Gretchen was hidden. She tries asking Samantha for help, but she is still ignored. However, on Samantha's end, she does have a suspicion that Susie's ghost is around the house and wants to communicate. Susie manages to figure out a way to make this all work. While Samantha is gone, Susie draws a picture of herself with Gretchen. Then more pictures of Chica coming to their home and taking Susie. Susie shows in the picture she doesn't have many nights left. This causes Samantha to panic and she frantically searches the house for Gretchen everywhere. Patricia sees Samantha is up to something, but she never calls her out on it. On the last night, Samantha is still frantically searching for Gretchen, but Chica does not want this to happen, so she attacks Samantha. However, Samantha manages to find Gretchen in her dad's office while Chica is taking Susie away. Samantha chases after them and is finally able to give Susie Gretchen back. Samantha pulls Susie in for the tightest hug as Susie actually appears right in front of her. She is finally reuniting with her sister after a full year since the tragedy at Freddy's. Samantha is so happy to see her sister one last time before she walks off with Chica, where Susie goes to be with her family of the other missing kids, trapped at Freddy's, where she will forever be in fear of other adults, as her family is under the impression Susie is in a good place, when that could not be further away from the truth. Yeah, the ending is messed up, but I do like that Coming Home expands this much on one of the missing children. I wish the other kids had stories similar to this, but at least Susie got one. Susie does get a happy ending once we get to Pizzeria Simulator. She isn't stuck at Freddy's forever, thankfully, just for 4 decades. Yeah. Anyway, Coming Home deserves more love, and I like it. As I said, it is my favorite Fazbear Frights story. Thank you everyone for watching. This ended up being a longer video. Yeah, all the Frights and Tales stories are going to make the second half of the series have a longer runtime. Womp womp. Anyway, time for my favorite FNAF release of year 6. That is Curse of Dreadbear, an amazing Halloween DLC with lots of fun and unique levels. It's a great add-on to the base game, Help Wanted. Now, thank you everyone for watching. Oh boy, writing these last 4 scripts are going to be taking me a while. Bye everyone!